Hello, everyone. For those who don't know, my name is Alex. I work with Seneca's Teaching and Learning Center, and it seems like we are all here because we are afraid of Blackboard Collaborate Ultra leaving. Or maybe not afraid, perhaps worried, or maybe we just don't know what to do, in which case this session is for everyone. So disappointed, I hear that, and I made a meme that reflects at least my feelings. And the reason, for full transparency, the reason we're moving from Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is because they increased their prices 10 times the amount. And that took everyone by storm, and that's just not feasible. So we as faculty and the college have to adapt, really, and look for something else. If it makes people feel better, all sorts of institutions across Ontario are doing the same thing. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra did not sort of pick us out as the target. It was across the board. So this session, I'm going to be kind of going through, we'll have a bit of a discussion, and we're just going to be introducing some of the other options that you can use in your class. So there are 4 options. So we'll give each one a very light treatment. And the idea by the end of this session is you'll have hopefully a better idea on which tool you'd like to try out, which one seems the most promising for your teaching. So the first thing I'd like everyone to do is I made a quiz, a sort of which tool would fit with you quiz. And I would like everyone to follow the link in the chat and do the quiz. It should only take 5-ish minutes. And it's just a series of questions about how you use virtual conferencing tools. And at the end, it will hopefully give you a recommendation. Through creating this quiz, I have a newfound respect for the people who make BuzzFeed personality quizzes, because it is quite difficult, all these sort of balancing things. So I'm going to turn off my mic. I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to work their way through the quiz. Although if anyone has any questions or concerns or something doesn't work, Jen and I will be available. When you click on the link, Cheryl, is it not working?
No, it looks like the review.
It says it's not a quiz. It's saying select any of the following to learn more about them. I don't want to learn more about them. I want
What if you
quiz.
Click next?
Okay.
And then, so there's a little bit of an introduction to it, which is similar to what I verbalized. So click your way through, and then we'll start this quiz.
All right. The first window, Alex, the first window with the 4 tools and the 3 buttons. Oh, it's just coming through now. Okay, it's just, oh, I'm not doing that. You're doing that. Someone's clicking buttons for me.
I'm clicking them, but you might be looking at the Zoom screen where I'm sharing it,
right,
instead of the actual link that would open in another browser.
It's in the chat box, the link to.
Oh, it's in the chat. Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes, so if everyone could follow the link in the chat, that'll take you to another website,
okay,
where you should be able to access the quiz.
All right, trying to come up here. Looks like it's working. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
Brendan, it recommended Zoom. Excellent. So that brings us to my next slide, which if you go into menti.com and use this code, then you would be able to share with the rest of the workshop which tool you received. Some of you may receive a tie, and that's okay. That's just how it goes. And once most people, or perhaps ideally all, have finished, we'll have a good idea on it. It also helps me test the quiz. Zoom is winning right now.
Don't influence our answers now.
You're right. You're right. I will.
Sorry, are we doing the quiz or the Menti? I'm just got lost now.
So the first do the quiz, and then I just went back to this slide once because some people have finished, and you'll share the result with the rest.
Okay.
Okay, mine came up with an answer, but it never asked me about doing breakout rooms, which are critical. And BigBlueButton does not have breakout rooms.
Really? BigBlueButton doesn't have breakout rooms?
That's what it says under the result. BigBlueButton is best for those who want the closest thing as possible to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. You cannot create individual meeting rooms, just a single course room.
Oh, sorry, that's not, that doesn't refer to breakout rooms. That's, if you recall from Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, you had the course room, and then you could make individual sessions.
Oh, I never
like,
did that. I just used the course room.
Then BigBlueButton will work.
Okay.
That's what it refers to, but that's a really good piece of feedback for sort of clarification. I've been staring at this quiz for weeks, and it's starting to go over my head, and I'll look the same. So thank you for that.
Oh, this is really good.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So shared videos are not in the recordings.
Not for BigBlueButton. And that's
Okay,
going to be
fine.
a very particular nagging issue for particular class styles. Webex, sad spider. Nobody's going for Webex. Microsoft Teams. We got a couple for Microsoft Teams.
But I'd like to know how it's making the decision. Like, what would be really nice at the end would be, this is the reason for it, because maybe I really should be looking at Zoom, and one of my answers guided it, and I want to double think that answer.
Right. So I will. I made the weighting, and based on the answers, I decided if this is 1 point for Zoom, 1 point for BigBlueButton, 2 points for Microsoft Teams. The weighting is a lot harder than I thought. So please take this answer with a grain of salt. This is not, you must do this one. The idea was for those who have very limited experience with any of the options, this could at least give you a sort of an idea to try first, which would work out, be a good first attempt. And if it doesn't really work for you, that's okay. But it gives you a little bit of some informed choices. That was the hope. So please do take it with a grain of salt. This is not the be all and end all.
Since you're the expert on this, or one of the experts, because you've looked into it so much, what's the biggest difference between Zoom and BigBlueButton? Because those are the two largest answers.
So BigBlueButton is very simple in terms of it is probably the closest to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. And you may have, in your time using Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, been fairly frustrated at times with the limited features it had. And that meant, you know, it was a little bit difficult to sort of share your screen all the time, especially with sound. You know, the features were very simple. You couldn't really change names. You couldn't see that many students at once. So these sort of limitations to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, Zoom has none of them. Zoom is very feature rich. BigBlueButton is quite simpler. So it's probably the closest to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra in terms of just sort of features, usability, learning curve. But if those, if the lack of features really kind of present hurdles, then you'll have to work around or just deal with them. BigBlueButton does have a whiteboard, and it is, I've heard that it is one of the better whiteboard options out there. But Zoom also does have a whiteboard.
Alex, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Now, for my synchronous classes, I've been using Zoom and I've been very happy with Zoom. But to record lectures with a PowerPoint, I've used Blackboard Collaborate. It's because it's just very straightforward. And I'm going to be, you know, sad to see it go strictly because of that, because it's just really nice to do what I do. You know, I do my PowerPoint in PowerPoint, and then I import it into Blackboard Collaborate and I record a lecture, you know. So I'm just wondering, will BigBlueButton allow me to do the same thing?
Yes, you should be able to. So Blackboard Collaborate Ultra does have the, I believe it is fairly unique in that you can upload PDFs
Right.
before the session.
Right.
And that's something that doesn't really exist in any other platform. So what we'll all have to get used to is sharing a screen or sharing windows and having all our materials open. So you can open your PDFs beforehand. You can open your PowerPoint beforehand and just juggling through. So it is a little bit more on the multitasking, but it's also not too different because you would still have to juggle through all your Blackboard Collaborate uploaded PDFs. And
yeah, I mean, I just use one. It's just one, like with 30 to 40 slides, and I do my lecture and I change, you know, I mean, that's why it's just very convenient because I don't have to look for anything else. I just upload straight off, you know, my PowerPoint with all of the necessary slides and I start my lecture. So you know, it's been very convenient that way. I wouldn't dream of doing a synchronous class with Blackboard Collaborate Ultra because I just, you know, I'm used to Zoom already for that. But
yeah, absolutely. So this goes for everyone. If you got a different result than a tool you're already sort of comfortable with, please don't stop using that tool just because my silly quiz told you something wrong or something different. This is not this is not a policy or anything. This is just a helpful suggestion. But with the sort of the original question is, yeah, you can use any of the conferencing tools, share your screen, create a meeting where you're the only one present and just do your thing. Someone mentioned, I'm having trouble keeping up with the chat, but Erin mentioned that she has seen Jen, this Jen Peters, use Zoom where her PowerPoint is in the background and her camera is in the foreground. And that's a really cool kind of way to do presentations where you've got the content, but you've also got your face and, you know, you're animated, you're gesticulating. And that's something that Zoom does quite well. Cheryl says, it's interesting that nobody got Webex or MS Teams. Microsoft Teams is very, very different from the other ones. It comes with its own advantages and sort of challenges. It is very particular in that sense. Webex, I don't know. I have a hypothesis that a lot of people have been to a lot of Webex things and didn't really like it, and that's sort of coloring their opinions. But Shelly got Webex, and that's good too. All these options, they're there for you. So what I thought we would do now that we have the majority, or sorry, Kajag, did you have your hand up? Did you want to say something?
Yes, but I think somebody answered in the chat box. Anyway, I was just wondering if the big blue button, when I record my live sessions, and can I access it via Blackboard, the recording, just like I used to do with the Collaborate Ultra? That was the question I had.
Yes, the recordings will be there, similar to how in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra opened up a new sort of tab in Blackboard. BigBlueButton will do the exact same thing. You can compare that to the process you guys used to get into this entire workshop and this conference, where you had to follow a link. It opened up the Zoom program or asked to open it up on the web. And there were a few more sort of windows you had to click through, sign-ins, and that's how Zoom operates. BigBlueButton is just in Blackboard as much as Collaborate Ultra was.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
No problem. So I thought then, because it seems we've got the Zoom BigBlueButton, that's where the focus is, I'm going to show you what they look like from Blackboard. Just so we get, this is like a quick tour. We're not going to have much time to go into how do I do this? How do I do that? I just want to take a quick tour of the interface so people can get a sense of, ooh, that looks good, or, oh no. Sorry, Jen, yeah, go ahead.
Can you zoom in for
Oh, I
folks
can
that are a little older than you? Thank you.
Understood. I can zoom in.
Thank you so much.
I like that pun. Anyway, so sorry, Shelly, did you have your hand up?
I was just wondering about, I love how you can, answer all kinds of questions about what is important to you and then start to select some tools. So if we were to, come up with our own list of here's what's really important, the ability to set up a breakout room or breakout rooms based on student groups that are already created. That's like my number one. If I can do that, that's going to drive my platform. Number two, I don't want students to have to authenticate. Like, is there, and that might be what Jen has posted, this list of, so we pick the criteria and then we can navigate our own selection based on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can email the teaching and learning inbox. And if you do the initial step and reflect and say, this is what's important to me, this is what isn't important, this is a deal breaker, this is my level of tech knowledge, etc. Very similar to the quiz that I just sort of released, where I took a guess as to what are some of the big things. You can email us and we'll give you a recommendation. We'll tell you, a certain product does everything you want, or here's the trade-off, take your pick. And that's absolutely something we can do. And yeah, I think we'd be happy to do that. So just email the teaching and learning inbox at teaching@senecacollege.ca, and we'll do that.
Awesome, Alex. Thank you.
So Jen shared the comparison chart, and we do have all sorts of webinars and training on all of these platforms over the summer. We are here with everyone for their transition. So we're going to do what we can. But for those who maybe don't have much familiarity at all, I wanted to show you what they look like. So by navigating up here to this sort of plus, you can create a tool link and you can call it class, lecture, online class, and you'll see that you have BigBlueButton, we have Zoom, and WebEx should be there. In fact, it was, oh, sorry, it's under C, Cisco WebEx. So you have all three of the tool options, and you would just click. So let's say Zoom, do available to users, and submit. And this will be probably the easiest way for both you and your students to find it. So now we're just going to do a tour of the interfaces. So if we click on BigBlueButton, you'll have this launch. And here, this is really very simple. You get one room. This is the join session. There is one sort of virtual classroom. And when you go to edit room, you don't have that many options. So very, very simple. And when there is a recording, it will be available right here where there are no recordings for this room. So I don't think I can go into a session and show you around that, just because I think I'll get issues joining two meetings at the same time. But we can see this interface. This is very simple. Students don't need to activate anything. They just hop in here and there it goes. You definitely, if this is appealing to you, you definitely want to go in, pick an old Blackboard course and join the session and play around with it. See what you can do, see what you can't do, try to record a session. Yeah, Nilafar, absolutely. So the way, like I said, the way to do any of these, the simplest way is to navigate to this plus icon, hit tool link, and then you'll be able to see BigBlueButton, Cisco WebEx, and Zoom. And just by selecting the appropriate one, putting the name, online classroom, lecture, office hours, tutorial, what have you, click available to users, and we'll do BigBlueButton. And it just gets added here. As far as I know, Shelly, for breakout rooms, Zoom is the only one that allows pre-made ones, but the Teaching and Learning Center is still in a process of mastering all of these tools and figuring out what questions faculty have, what do they want. That's my understanding currently, but the other challenge is all these tools are changing. Since the pandemic, it's just become a giant sort of race to someone releases a feature. 3 months later, every other platform has that feature. So things are subject to change. And that's just a nature of, our tech lives right now. So we saw BigBlueButton. It's very simple.
Alex, can I ask you a very quick question regarding the BigBlueButton?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Just wondering, once I record a lecture, can I actually include that lecture, the file for it, under in my weekly folder?
So you could link to it, and I do believe you can download it from BigBlueButton.
Okay, perfect, because that's what I was doing with Blackboard Collaborate. Okay, great.
Yes. So I'm going to quickly try to hit all these questions in the chat. Can you make polls in BigBlueButton? Yes. Can you set up lectures in advance? Yes, there is a specific way to do so. Is Seneca mandating that lectures are recorded? Not the time and the place to discuss that. Jen's shaking her head. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Moving on. My Mac does not play well with Teams or WebEx. Yes, that is noted. Teams does not like Macs. Great conspiracy about Microsoft and Apple getting into fights, but that's just a challenge. I know Teams really wants that Mac compatibility. No idea where that's going, but if you use a Mac, Teams probably not the best bet. I haven't heard of Macs not playing well with WebEx, but hey, if it doesn't play well with you, not worth using. The authentication process, we'll see if we have time. BigBlueButton does allow audio for video sharing. The international students and students in China, that's another separate question because of VPNs, and many students are recommended that they have access to VPNs. but that's an entire other workshop that than what we have time. Good to know about Microsoft Teams. Costa also reports Teams problems with their Mac. When we click on online classroom versus in BigBlueButton. So we're looking at all these features. Oh, so many questions. We're looking at all these features. The best way to get the sort of the up-to-date sort of how these features work is to go in and try them. Things change all the time. They could change within a week. So definitely one thing to do is pop into a class, try it out, see how it works, and sort of judge from there. But I'll show you Zoom very quickly, just to give us a little bit of sort of point of comparison. So when you click on the Zoom link, it'll go over here. You have to launch it. It might not. Let's see if it gives me, no, it's perfect. So this is your Zoom area. It's a little bit more, sort of, there's more to it than at BigBlueButton, where you have upcoming meetings that you have to schedule and make meetings. You have a previous meeting, so all your previous meetings, your recordings are all visible, and you also have access to your sort of your personal meeting room, which can be used. So there's just a little bit more to the interface, and students will see exactly this. They will see the upcoming meetings. And when you schedule a meeting, there are a lot of options. So it's a much more involved process. You have more control. There are more features that you can change, more settings that you can play with, but you're going to have to be comfortable with those settings, or at least comfortably ignoring them, either one. So we have questions. Students will not see other Zoom meetings. So they will only see the meetings for this course, and you in this portal will only see your meetings for this course. If you go to another course that uses Zoom, you will see those meetings. And if you go to your main Zoom account, then you will see all your meetings. Shelley, students only have to register and authenticate once, and then from then they just have to use their Seneca account. So it's not, once they're set up, it's fairly straightforward.
So they don't have to authenticate every time they go to our Blackboard site and they click on online class and it just happens to be Zoom. They'll be able to, just like say BigBlueButton, just click on through and join the online class once they're registered.
Yes, there's a few more clicks in the process, but they just click through it and they're there. They don't need to sign in, or once they've registered, it should work seamlessly.
Got it.
And ITS does have instructions on it. We have plenty of webinars and instructional videos that are in the pipeline for all these more specific questions. And Sabine asks, at the beginning of the semester, I send students a link for our Blackboard Collaborate meeting. Is this possible in Zoom? If you had a recurring meeting, I think that you can sort of have one consistent link that you could share. And that should serve a similar purpose. There is a setting going down at the bottom of the chat for lessons to be automatically recorded in Zoom. It probably is worth noting with Zoom that you have this area that doesn't have very many settings, but if you go to Zoom, if you go to Zoom at Seneca College, that's where you have a lot of settings. And by a lot, I mean a lot of settings. So there's a lot of features that you can control, including automatic recording, sort of whether you want to record it to your computer, to the cloud, whether you want guests to be able to join, whether you want to make sure only Seneca users can join, whether you have a waiting room, whether you use a password, all sorts of settings. So that does give you quite a bit more control over how the meeting goes. These settings are not really available through BigBlueButton. Webex is kind of in between, and MS Teams is its own beast with quite a lot of other features that are more than just for class meetings. So each one is quite different in that regard. Okay, so we've gotten through. Back at the sort of the quiz, it really did seem that a lot of the choices that we have today are through Zoom and BigBlueButton. Both of those are great, two great options. We've had really good experiences with Zoom, and BigBlueButton is a great sort of tool for those who really love the simplicity and the sort of the simple user interface of Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. BigBlueButton does not do automatic closed captioning. That is something that only Zoom and Microsoft Teams do. Cheryl asks, is there what Seneca College will be recommending? We don't really know whether we're going to rally behind one particular tool, leave it open for faculty. That's a discussion that individual schools might have as well, where a particular school, the School of Business, Marketing, Animation, may say, hey, we're going to have all our courses on the same platform. So there's a lot of people involved in sort of making a blanket recommendation. But right now we're letting people sort of select their chosen tool. Nilofar, we have a load of sets of videos on using Zoom. Jen and her team have been working very hard on producing lots of videos and different instructions. Expect a rollout from mid to late May of at least some of these resources. Yeah, Nilofar, go ahead. Unmute yourself and ask away.
I really appreciate all the information you are giving us. Despite that we are really panicked and scared, so you are really helping. So I know we have account in just Zoom, that we just go to Zoom and then we log into Seneca website, and also we can have that via Blackboard. So which one you recommend? We have just the link inside Blackboard, like from the tool link, or we can make a Zoom meeting in the Seneca website, with the Seneca account, and then share it with the students. So which one is more recommended?
So that's a great question. And the big bonus of this sort of Zoom portal is all the recordings are going to be automatically there.
So I don't need to upload them then, right?
No, they're just there. So with
that's great.
The other strategy of sort of let me make a meeting, email all my students and post the link on Blackboard so that they can access it. They'd have no way to easily find the recording. You would also have to go share the link with them.
Here they just can go to Blackboard. One of the options, just at left, they can click and come to the meeting, just exactly like Collaborate Ultra, right? Yeah. That's great. Yeah, because my question was about recording. How can I share the recording? So it stays there.
Yeah, it becomes a non-issue when you're using this portal, because you'll see the upcoming meetings, you'll see the recordings, you'll see previous meetings.
And so, is there any limitation on recording? Because I remember when we were recording through Collaborate Ultra, it was so expensive for Seneca to keep all the recording, just to hold them. So is there any limitations to just record for certain hours or for certain time or for certain things?
So I think we have a storage maximum, and this is something that's sort of buried in the contract details that go above my pay grade. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Jen, do you know what the particular storage maximum is?
Sorry, for Zoom recordings?
Yes.
Right now it's unlimited, but I wouldn't count on it being unlimited forever. So I turned off, for some reason, Zoom had turned off automatically deleting my recordings. And so I turned that off. And so I keep every one of my recordings as needed. And Hassan hasn't said it's going to be limited yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Thank you so much. I really appreciate. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. That's what we're here for. This session is to hopefully make
Right.
everyone just a little bit less nervous
Yeah.
about.
If we make something like this for each course, so a student from particular course, they just see their own sessions and their own recording, right? They don't see everything.
Yeah. So
Because
here,
maybe we have a Zoom meeting, for example, with our family. They don't see that.
yeah. So here you can see my upcoming meetings are blank. I can assure you I have meetings coming up. Everyone has meetings, but we can't see them here. They're somewhere else.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
all sorts of meetings like that, it's only restricted to when the meetings that are visible via schedule a new meeting. And so this is how you would make the meetings for the class. You can make a recurring meeting.
Yeah, because it was one of my really concern about just to share how to share with the students. Yeah.
Absolutely. We know that this is new. This sort of, we were surprised when this happened. And we know that there are a lot of faculty who are also surprised and who, maybe that tech level, that level of familiarity with these other programs isn't really there. We are going to do what we can, and we understand, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that no one is left behind. September comes and we're all Zoom experts, Zoom spurts. No, need a new name for that. Sorry, lots of stuff in the chat. So we will have videos, we'll have webinars, we'll have live sessions where people can play around. I definitely suggest people create a meeting, see if you can commandeer someone you live with, see if you can use their computer to join the meeting, play around with it, see how the screen sharing works, do a test recording, do like a dry run of your course, try getting, putting your cat and dog in the meeting and then putting them in the breakout rooms. We'll have live sessions for that as well. But, it's great to just go off and sort of practice, see what you can do. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra will be around until September. So you have this summer to sort of procrastinate, jump in, dip your toes in, however you want to approach it. Come September, no extensions. It is leaving.
Ask one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How is the clarity of the video recording in Zoom as compared to Blackboard Collaborate Ultra?
So by clarity, do you mean live or via a recording?
Yeah, so usually I do quite a few demos, and I record my session during the demos. So it's a video recording actually.
Right. So we haven't noticed any sort of glaring differences in either the video or the recording quality between these tools. Most of that is going to depend on the internet connection, your webcam, and sort of these things that we as ed tech specialists don't really have the sort of the capability to really test. But from our experience, the quality of the recording and the video sessions is fairly equal across the board. There's not one that really stands out as being particularly crystal clear. So yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but
yeah,
that's
I was just trying to compare, because at the moment I do the recordings in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and I feel that they're a little bit blurred. They're not that sharp.
You should give it a try.
So I was
Just
just-
hop into Zoom, try
Yeah,
out
I,
over,
I was gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
and then
try.
side by side. Yeah.
Cheryl, yes, breakout rooms generally tend to give every participant within the room access to all the main tools such as screen sharing and chat. So there should be no huge issues there. I think it's important to remember that in the grand scheme of things, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra had the fewest features and the most restrictions of any product out there. So BigBlueButton is similar. It has that advantage of the lack of features makes it simple, but nobody is going to be missing things that they used to be able to do in Blackboard that they could not do. There are some things here, like the uploading of PDFs instead of screen sharing, but with Zoom, you're going to be able to see more people on the screen. There's easier scheduling. Zoom has a lot of features, BigBlueButton, fewer so, but I mean, you can't beat that simplicity. This sort of, anyone could figure it out. It's
I
right
know
here.
a lot of people who've had a lot of problems with Zoom when they have time critical.
Absolutely. Zoom has a learning curve.
No, I don't mean learning curve. I mean just glitches. They've had,
Oh,
yeah, they've given up on it for teaching because you have, you got an hour and a half basically. I know it's supposed to be an hour, but an hour and a half. And if something goes wrong, you're kind of screwed. And they've had a lot of problems where there'll be a glitch in the middle. It'll drop people. I guess you haven't heard any of that.
not really, but that's really good to know. We're always kind of on the lookout. So we can test things, and we do test as much as we can. But of course, we're only like, 5 or 10 people as opposed to 800 faculty plus innumerable other people that everyone knows. So we haven't heard of anything, but that by no means that it doesn't happen.
And it might have just been that it's better now that everything was dying at the beginning of the pandemic stuff.
That's
I don't know.
That's the other thing. You're absolutely right. Jen?
One thing I'll point out is that I've been using Zoom to teach for about 3 semesters now. And all of a sudden I upgraded last week. I did my manual upgrade. I go in every couple months and I do it. And all of a sudden, every time I went to share my screen, my Zoom would crash. And I was like, what's happening here? And so I went back in. Sure enough, there was another upgrade to fix that. So stuff's going to happen for sure. Typically, there's a fix for it, and upgrading is usually the thing to do. Webex, a couple of weeks ago, every time I tried to go into Webex, it would kick me out. And then I'd have like 5 of me in a meeting. So those things are going to happen. It's just a matter of, okay, so this is happening. How can I fix this? And usually it's an upgrade. Sometimes it's a browser upgrade, update, sorry. Sometimes I just need to restart my computer. So that's the problem with using these things to teach, is that it's not you standing in front of a classroom, which is reliable. It's using this thing that might let you down.
Absolutely. And these things change too. I mean, with the pandemic has forced everyone to go online, as we're all very familiar with by now. So all these companies that provide this service, it's a constant race of one-upping, adding features, realizing things don't work, racing really quickly to try to fix them. Does it work with a Mac, a PC, Linux computers, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like an immensely fast moving field. So, if something didn't work for you a couple months ago, maybe you want to give it a shot, take 15 minutes. Does it still give you issues? Fair enough. And there's so many other things that, computers, sometimes they have a life on their own. Don't know why it happens. Mondays, tech issue day. Why? Don't know. So there's a lot of things that we can't definitively say because, your mileage will vary. Someone mentioned in the chat, they use a Mac and Teams works really well for them. Someone else also has a Mac. Teams never works for them. We don't know why, so it's just kind of do what you can. We're always here to answer questions. We're going to be rolling out training over the summer, lots of opportunities. Our inbox is always open for questions. strategies, however we can support everyone. So over. Oh, we've just finished. Sorry, I thought we finished it. So we've just finished. Are there any other sort of final thoughts or questions from people? I know I was not able to answer everything in the chat. There are a lot of questions. Understandable. I tried to answer as many as I could. Jen had also been helping with the chat, and great.
Something to note.
Alex, a quick question. The sessions that we might look at this summer, we'll go into My PD. Is that how we access them?
Yes, we'll have live sessions via MyPD. And in addition to that, we're working on a suite of sort of at-home asynchronous videos that are currently in the process. I believe we've filmed most of them, but are just working on how are we going to present all these videos, adding captioning, etc. The sort of the second steps. And we're going to have videos for all sorts of things. Aaron mentions there's a roundtable for English and liberal studies on Wednesday with Jennifer.
Actually, will be there. That's going to be Kevin. Kevin's going to be there.
It's going to be Kevin. Is that the one I'm going to too?
Okay.
I think I have one as well.
We're going to the next one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there are
That's
plenty.
good to know then. Thanks, Alex and Jennifer.
Absolutely. And if I know that certain schools have reached out to organize smaller sort of workshops like ELS, I know like legal studies. So you can reach out to your chair, see if they want to get the squad together to learn a particular tool. We're always happy to do these webinars.
It's best to send your questions to the teaching listserv, because then that goes to the whole like 15 of us instead of if Alex and I aren't available. So it's just teaching@senecacollege.ca. And then you've got a whole team of people that know different levels of things about Zoom or Blackboard, BigBlueButton. But like what Alex said, if you want to set one up for your department, I think that's a great way to learn the tool, because everybody teaches so differently with these tools. And so it's really difficult to come into this session and you've got, 80 people that all teach differently. So if you want to set something up, you can send an email to teaching@senecacollege.ca and we can try to figure out a time just to do a custom session for you.
Yep, absolutely. Or even just, you've got questions like, this is really important to me. Which tool is going to do that? Here are my experiences. We'll be able to give you a sort of a suggestion. My quiz is very much tried to touch as many things as I could in the most sort of balancing, we don't want to be here for an hour answering questions about how we teach. But you guys all have things that you do that, wasn't on the quiz. So let us know. And we'll see whatever your concerns are. We'll try to figure it out. And, teamwork makes the dream work.
There's a Zoom webinar coming up on May 14th, and that's Kevin Pitts and I and Andreas that are going to be doing that. There's only about 20 spots left. So if you go to MyPD, you can register for that. But the link I pasted earlier to our older webinar we did, it's going to be the exact same thing. It's not an interactive webinar. So it'll be the same thing. We're just running it again for folks that want to come.